I can safely say that I have never rooted for Santino Marella so hard in my entire life than I did last Sunday. More on that in a minute, but first of all, welcome to John's Wrestling Views. I am your host, John. On the heels of the Royal Rumble, interesting event to say the least, followed by another interesting night of wrestling with Monday Night Raw. Lot to cover, so let's get started. Actually going to start a little bit TNA on Thursday. The big story was that Kurt Angle was reinstated. Clearly he wasn't gone in the first place. But it was going to be him and Crimson in a 7-on-2 handicap match against the members of Immortal. But Kurt Angle made a phone call saying, "Hey, I'm going to need your help. Can you make it to the Impact Zone?" "Okay, I'll see you here." Who was that person who was on the phone with? Did it have something to do with them? But so they have their match with Immortal. Jeff Jarrett's not there right away. Jeff Jarrett shows up, and all of a sudden the numbers gang really gangs up on Crimson and especially Kurt Angle, losing the match, and then it's just a beatdown from there. And out comes the Blueprint, Matt Morgan, and the announcers are going, "Oh, Kurt Angle called Matt Morgan. He's here to help them." And I'm sitting there thinking, as great as Matt Morgan is, I don't think so. That is him who he called. Well, the beatdown happens on Morgan too. 7-on-3 is not going to change much. And then the lights turn out, and turn off, and I was like, Sting? Sabu? No, probably not. But the sirens play, and it says, "Holla if you hear me!" And sure enough, here comes Scott Steiner. So Scott Steiner, clearly that guy who Kurt Angle called, and attacking when an Immortal, but I was starting to think maybe who's going to be revealed this Thursday on Impact, could be the return of the Main Event Mafia. Matt Morgan has had affiliation with the Main Event Mafia. Of course, Kurt Angle was the dominant leader. Scott Steiner was a member of the Main Event Mafia. Well, it could happen. Guess I'm wrong. Now I still don't have a idea who they are, because come the Royal Rumble match Sunday, a few surprise entrants. Probably the most impacting entrant was Hornswoggle, as him and John Cena formed an alliance. For the entertainment value of WWE, it was a lot of fun to watch as they would, perform a bunch of John Cena maneuvers on anyone who came in. The one I can think of right off the bat, Tyson Kidd. Hornswoggle even put on an attitude adjustment on Tyson Kidd. Really fun to watch, especially, if this kind of stuff humors you, and I don't see why it wouldn't. But the two biggest names to be a surprise entrance in the Royal Rumble, there was at one point where the Nexus was dominating, eliminating everybody who came in, and Booker T's music played. Booker T, back in WWE, at least for that night, eliminated right after he came in, but, it was great to see him again. But later on in the show, you hear the diesel engine honk, and sure enough, after Matt Stryker being on a PG show said, "Holy oh, it's a PG show," is kind of what had to have been going through his mind, but as a fan, I was laughing hysterically. But here comes Diesel, Kevin Nash coming back as Diesel. I have gotten a little bit of scoop since then. It looks like Kevin Nash has signed some sort of contract with WWE, but not as a wrestler. He's way past his prime, but, kind of behind the scenes, maybe a trainer. Plan on not seeing Nash much, unless there's a good possibility he could be inducted into this year's Hall of Fame. Former WCW man, sure. And, he's earned it. He's a legend in the wrestling business. Booker T, on the other hand, has signed a contract that is lasting more than just one night. It's been rumored that he'll be either a wrestler or an announcer. The latest I'd heard is that they're not sure yet what they want his role to be, but leaning more towards being a manager. So I guess we'll see what happens. But yeah, those are two big things of the Royal Rumble. Sorry to those of you who's been real good about tuning into my videos. Sorry I let you down. I honestly thought we were going to see the return of Triple H. I think that's what the issue was. Is so many people were expecting it, and Triple H wants to make a huge impact when he comes back, so probably at a moment where we're not going to expect it as much. Which, speaking of which, that's what happened at Raw. The announcement was made at the beginning of the show. There's going to be a 7-man Raw Rumble between John Cena, John Morrison, R-Truth, Sheamus, CM Punk, Randy Orton, and Hall of Famer Jerry the King Lawler. The winner of this 7-man Raw Rumble was going to go on to the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view to face The Miz for WWE Championship. The other 6 are going to be in Raw's Elimination Chamber to determine the new #1 contender to go to Wrestle Mania to face whoever for the WWE Championship. That was exciting to watch. John Morrison, wow, so many times they tried eliminating, he was just showing his athleticism. It started in the Royal Rumble match the night before when he was tossed to the outside and Spider-Man-like landing on the barricade and then crawling to the top of the barricade and leaping from them to the stairs, feet never touching the ground. John Morrison's getting even more and more exciting to watch. I'm expecting to see a WWE Championship run with him before too long, to be honest. Probably not. My guess is he'll probably go on to Money in the Bank at WrestleMania, if they even do it this year. And my guess is that he'll be taking home that briefcase. That's my guess. So, anyway, coming down to John Cena, Sheamus, and Jerry the King Lawler in the match. John Cena's on the ledge, and then, Jerry the King Lawler bumps into him. Cena falls. Cena's eliminated. And King, feeling kind of remorseful, Sheamus doesn't care. He's going to go for that brogue kick. King ducks out of the way. He hits the rope. John Cena pulls the rope down. Sheamus goes over the top rope. Jerry the King Lawler is the #1 contender for the Miz's WWE Championship. And as a wrestling fan, especially if you've been one as long as I have, you're like, wow, this is great. I'm sure the more recent fans, and even a lot of them, are like, King? And a pay-per-view? It's still hard to tell if King's going to WrestleMania. I'd like for it, but I really don't want to see The Miz go on to WrestleMania as a champion. Let's see what happens. On to Santino Marella, though, from the Royal Rumble. He was thrown under the bottom rope shortly after he came in, and then kind of forgotten about. And it came down to Randy Orton, Wade Barrett, and Alberto Del Rio in the end. Orton eliminates Barrett, Del Rio eliminates Orton, and they're thinking Del Rio is the Royal Rumble winner. His music's playing, Ricardo Rodriguez is going nuts, but Santino Marella comes back in the ring. The referee's like, yeah, he's never been eliminated, and he's got this emotional look on his face as he's setting up for the Cobra. Hits the Cobra, and as a fan, you're like, wait, maybe Santino will actually win this. Look at his face. He looks like reality is sinking in that he's going to be winning the biggest Royal Rumble match ever. Hits the Cobra, but then goes to eliminate Del Rio, and Del Rio counters it, eliminating Santino to actually win. I got to do a shout out here. At 9:45 that night, just right after it happened, there was a posting on Facebook from Drew Wick saying, I do believe I called that. Well, Drew, last I checked, there's about 600 people who voiced their opinion on the WWE Universe page on Facebook who is really upset with your assumption right now. Let's see what WWE goes from here. Del Rio went on the next night to say he's challenging for the world title at WrestleMania. One would assume it's against Edge. Edge and Del Rio in a singles match, I just don't see as a WrestleMania headliner. But the road to WrestleMania is still long. We're on the road, but there's still a lot of road time before we actually get to our destination. So it's still up in the air from here. Let's keep tuning in, I guess, see what happens. And of course, whether you can tune in to Raw or SmackDown or TNA or not, you can always tune in here and I'll give you the latest scoop. And for tonight, thanks for tuning in. I'm John. Have a good one.